Hey, what's up, guys? It's Renaldo here. So, what has become a trademark in this country with regards to universities is playing out once again at the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. And that is that if you don't get what you want, you start protesting. If that doesn't work, then you protest and you turn it violent. And if that doesn't work, then you just start burning buildings down. This is the trademark in this country. You know, these students don't realize that it's going to negatively impact on their studies. They don't care because they shouldn't really be there to begin with, because the standard of education in this country has gotten so low that even criminals can go to university and get degrees, because that is the only way that you can explain what is currently happening at universities around South Africa. How is it possible that we can live in a country where the students that are supposed to be the future of this country are the ones that are willing to burn buildings down if they don't get their way? How is that the brightest and the best that South Africa has to offer? Now, before I show you this article, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. It's absolutely free. It won't cost you anything, as well as smashing the like button and sharing this video. All right, let's have a look. Alright, so once again, thanks to Newsday for this brilliant article, and it says emergency evacuation triggered at major university in South Africa. Surprise, surprise. Every single year, this happens. The Cape Peninsula University of Technology has activated an emergency evacuation of all residencies and has shut down all campuses following an arson attack. In an urgent note to staff and students on Tuesday, the university said that the shutdown would be indefinite, in effect until further notice. This is to ensure safety at the university. The university said that fire officials responded to the fire at the old education building on the Belleville campus, marking another escalation in violent protests. It has now reached a point where someone is likely to be seriously injured or worse, it said. Well, that's already happened to a security guard that was senselessly attacked by students. Continued violent disruptions, torching of buildings, and malicious attacks on institutional infrastructure have forced university management to close all campuses until further notice and immediately evacuate the residencies, it said. Unruly individuals acting in bad faith with the sole purpose of making the university dysfunctional have left management with no other choice but to act swiftly and decisively. The university added that all academic activities will cease with immediate effect while staff continue to work from home. Students and staff have been given 24 hours, which is until tomorrow, 19th of August at 4 o'clock, to vacate all residencies. The safety of our campus community is our top priority, and the evacuation is now our only option to de-escalate the violence and protect lives. This is at universities in South Africa. The shutdown follows days of unrest and protests among students centered around the university's plan to reduce 4.2 billion rand in student debt. You know, because unlike what the students are told by political parties, not everything in life is for free. Sometimes you have to pay in order to improve yourself. I had to work 2 jobs to put myself through university. I didn't have NSFAS, unfortunately. This would have been achieved by requiring students to pay a mandatory registration fee of 7,000 Rand and a portion of their outstanding arrears up front. Now, we can argue on whether or not people can afford it, but for how many decades in the past, if you couldn't afford to go and study at university, then you had to work a job until you could save up enough money to go and study. But hey, these days, it's impossible to fathom that fact. You should just be given things, and if you don't get it, then you become violent, and if that doesn't work, then you just burn things down. That is the solution over here. Under this recovery plan, the option to register by signing a debt pledge would no longer be available. Students protested the plan, delivering 2 memoranda of demands to CPUT leadership, which resulted in the plan being withdrawn. Despite the withdrawal, violent protests continued at the university's Belleville campus throughout last week, including a security vehicle being set on fire at the Wellington campus. The protest, organized by the Central SRC, drew participation from various student organizations. This includes the Pan-Africanist Student Movement of Azania, the Economic Freedom Fighter Student Command, and the Umkhonto we Sizwe Student Movement. Yeah. Exactly who you would expect, because, you know, if you can't get what you want, you break it down. And if you just want to see what the state of it was, look at this.
but it's a small part, of course, as important as it is, but it's just a small part that's on fire.
Also, just important to note that there was literally millions of rands of equipment in that building. Not 1 million, not 2 million, multiple millions of rands of equipment in this building. And of course, the architectural heritage of that building, nobody respects it. So, just burn it down. I mean, why bother? If I can't study here, let me just burn it down. I don't care about future students and their rights and me affording them an opportunity to study. If I can't do it, then I'm going to burn it down because nobody else is allowed to study there. This is the mentality that we have. So South Africa, this is the current state of education in this country. This is what happens when you allow a 30% pass rate. This is what happens when every single Tom, Dick and Harry can go to university. You start just muddying the playing field because everybody should have equal rights. Everybody should have the right to go and study further, whether they have the brains to do so, whether they have the money to do so. It just should happen. This is where we are, and this is why the state of this country is the state that it's in. This is also why we have youth unemployment rates that are close to 63, 64%. Because how can you employ people that are just willing to get violent or burn things down when they don't get their ways? What are they going to do to businesses in 5 or 10 years from now, when they don't get their raise, when they have to be removed or get fired? What do you think they're going to do? They're going to go to that business and burn the business down. Is this really the type of people that businesses want to employ? No, of course not. But you see, there's also something deeper here. When did these things start going so wrong? Well, I can tell you. It's when the universities started allowing SRCs to get into the universities. These political affiliated SRCs, student representative councils, that's linked to the EFF, to the DA, to MK, to the whatever that party is of Azania. When universities started allowing students to unite behind political party movements, that is when shit started going south very quickly. Because that is when the EFF now bring in their big dogs from Parliament and the councillors, and the same with DASO, and the same with the ANC. They bring in these people that don't really care about the students, but they want to stand on some political, morally high ground and then get some brownie points for the next election. That is what is at play here, and that is why the state of our universities is in the state that it's in. How can we ever allow students like this to be the future of South Africa? Because if we allow this, if we allow these criminals, because that is what they are, if we allow them to graduate and not go to jail for what they have done, then we are doomed. Our youth is the future. And if the youth currently doesn't see a problem with violence and burning things down when they don't get their way, then South Africa is headed one way, and that is straight to hell. Why is this not being condemned by political parties? Specifically the EFF, MK, the ANC, and the DA. Why is this not being condemned? No political party or politician is speaking about what's currently happening. They are allowing this to happen because this is happening in their names, through the student representative councils. And yet, instead of arrests being made, the university is now forced to shut down. You know, the innocent students that's got nothing to do with this is now being inconvenienced, or the building that they are being lectured in is being burned down. And it's a minority of students that's allowed to ruin it for everybody else. Where is the SAPS? Why aren't they arresting these students? Why aren't we getting these students out of the universities and into jail where they belong? This is not the future of South Africa. I refuse to accept that somebody that is so entitled to think that if they don't get their way, then they must resort to violence, and if that doesn't work, then burn things down. There's no place in the workforce for people like that. The only place that they deserve to be is in prison. It's as simple as that. And that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to smash that like button, share this video far and wide. Don't forget to subscribe. It's absolutely free. It won't cost you anything. However, If you'd like to contribute financially, you can do so by clicking on the $ and choosing an amount below, or you can become a member of this channel by clicking the join button. And that's all I got to say. Till later, cheers and peace out.
You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre. I wear my massacre. You don't even know me, but every time you see me, you say, I wear my massacre.